Hello, this is Cinema Magic. Take a few seconds to subscribe and then press the like button. Today, we are recapping the movie Grand Isle, as directed by Stephen S. Campanelli. Now, let's begin. The film opens on Grand Isle, Louisiana, during a ferocious hurricane. A young man, Buddy Luke Benward, frantically seeks shelter, eventually finding refuge in the home of former Marine Walter, Nicolas Cage, and his much younger wife, Fancy, Katie Strickland. Walter, a strict and imposing figure, reluctantly allows Buddy to stay, warning him to abide by his rules. Buddy is wet, disheveled, and clearly shaken by the storm. Walter, on the other hand, appears unfazed by the chaos, maintaining a stoic demeanor and an air of authority. Fancy, dressed in a revealing nightgown, watches Buddy with curiosity and a hint of flirtation, setting the stage for a tense and volatile dynamic between the three characters. In a flashback, we see Buddy's encounter with Fancy earlier that day. While working as a handyman, Buddy arrives at the couple's house to fix their generator. Fancy, exuding sensuality, makes suggestive comments and attempts to seduce Buddy. However, he resists her advances, maintaining a professional demeanor. The encounter, though brief, establishes a simmering attraction between them and hints at the underlying tensions in Fancy's marriage. As the hurricane intensifies, the power goes out, and Buddy returns to fix the generator, leading to his unexpected stay during the storm. The forced confinement in the house, coupled with the raging storm outside, creates a claustrophobic and charged atmosphere, heightening the sense of unease and foreshadowing the events to come. Back in the present, Walter and Fancy's strained relationship becomes evident. Walter, haunted by his experiences in the military, exhibits controlling behavior towards Fancy. He constantly belittles her, monitors her interactions, and isolates her from the outside world. Fancy, feeling trapped and unfulfilled, seeks solace in alcohol and dreams of escaping her stifling marriage. During the night, Buddy witnesses a heated argument between Walter and Fancy, escalating into a physical altercation. The argument reveals the deep-seated resentment and power imbalance in their relationship. Fancy, pushed to her limits, grabs a gun and threatens Walter, but he manages to disarm her. The situation spirals out of control as a gunshot rings out, leaving the audience in suspense and wondering who pulled the trigger. The following morning, Detective Jones, Kelsey Grammer, arrives to investigate the incident. Walter, composed and manipulative, provides a carefully crafted narrative, claiming that Buddy broke into their house, attempted to assault Fancy, and accidentally shot himself in the struggle. Buddy, however, offers a different version of events, accusing Walter of assaulting Fancy and killing her in a jealous rage. The conflicting accounts and the apparent tension between Walter and Buddy intrigue Detective Jones, a seasoned investigator. He begins to question their motives and scrutinize their accounts, determined to uncover the truth behind the events of that fateful night. As the investigation unfolds, the characters' dark secrets and hidden desires gradually come to light, revealing a web of deceit, betrayal, and ultimately, violence. Detective Jones delves deeper into the investigation, meticulously examining the crime scene and interviewing the suspects. He discovers a hidden room in the attic, where Walter keeps a collection of war memorabilia and a secret stash of weapons. This revelation raises questions about Walter's mental state and his potential for violence. Meanwhile, flashbacks reveal Fancy's troubled past and her tumultuous relationship with Walter. She married him at a young age, seeking security and stability, but soon realized that she had traded one prison for another. Walter's controlling nature and emotional abuse drove Fancy to despair, leading her to seek solace in alcohol and illicit affairs. As the investigation progresses, Detective Jones uncovers a series of inconsistencies in Walter's story. He finds evidence suggesting that Fancy was involved in a romantic relationship with a local man named John. This discovery further complicates the case, casting doubt on Walter's claim of Buddy's attempted assault. Buddy, eager to clear his name and expose Walter's true nature, reveals to Detective Jones that he witnessed Fancy flirting with John earlier that day. He also discloses that he saw Fancy willingly go into John's car, suggesting that their relationship was more than platonic. Detective Jones confronts Walter with this new information, but Walter remains defiant, maintaining his innocence. He accuses Buddy of lying and fabricating stories to protect himself. However, Detective Jones, growing increasingly suspicious of Walter, decides to dig deeper into Fancy's past and her relationships. He discovers that Fancy had a history of infidelity and that she was desperate to escape her marriage. He also learns that she confided in John about her unhappiness and her desire for a new life. These revelations paint a different picture of Fancy, portraying her as a victim of circumstance rather than a willing participant in the events leading to her death. As the investigation intensifies, the lines between truth and deception become increasingly blurred. Walter, sensing that his carefully constructed facade is crumbling, becomes more erratic and unpredictable. He threatens Buddy, warning him to keep his mouth shut and tries to intimidate Detective Jones, hoping to derail the investigation. The investigation takes a dramatic turn when Detective Jones obtains a search warrant for Walter's house. He and his team scour the premises, meticulously searching for any evidence that could shed light on Fancy's death. In the attic, they discover a blood-stained rug hidden beneath a pile of junk. The rug, which matches the pattern in the living room, suggests that Walter attempted to clean up the crime scene. Confronted with this new evidence, Walter grows increasingly agitated and defensive. He maintains his innocence, but struggles to explain the blood-stained rug. Detective Jones, sensing Walter's desperation, pushes harder, using his interrogation skills to expose the cracks in Walter's story. Meanwhile, Buddy, feeling the weight of the situation and fearing for his own safety, decides to take matters into his own hands. He sneaks back into Walter's house, determined to find evidence that could exonerate him. In the attic, he discovers a hidden camera, revealing that Walter had been secretly recording Fancy's interactions. But he realizes that the camera footage could be crucial in proving Walter's guilt. He retrieves the memory card and delivers it to Detective Jones, hoping that it will finally expose the truth. The footage reveals a disturbing scene. Walter, in a fit of rage, brutally assaults Fancy. The video ends abruptly, leaving the fate of Fancy uncertain. Armed with this new evidence, Detective Jones arrests Walter for the murder of his wife. Walter, finally realizing that his lies have caught up with him, breaks down and confesses to the crime. He reveals that he killed Fancy in a jealous rage after discovering her affair with John. He admits to staging the scene to make it look like Buddy was responsible for Fancy's death. With Walter's confession, the case is finally closed. Buddy is cleared of all charges and justice is served for Fancy. The storm that ravaged Grand Isle has subsided, but the emotional turmoil and devastating consequences of that fateful night continue to haunt the characters. Buddy, having endured a harrowing experience, leaves Grand Isle, hoping to put the past behind him and start a new life. Detective Jones, burdened by the weight of his profession and the dark secrets he has uncovered, seeks solace in his faith, finding comfort in the belief that justice has prevailed. As the film draws to a close, the audience is left to ponder the complex themes of love, betrayal, and violence. The characters' actions and motivations are laid bare, exposing the fragility of human relationships and the devastating consequences of unchecked jealousy and rage. Grand Isle, once a peaceful haven, has become a symbol of shattered dreams and broken lives. In the aftermath of Walter's confession and arrest, the dark secrets that had long festered beneath the surface of Grand Isle come to light. The community grapples with the shocking truth behind Fancy's death and the shattered illusion of Walter's seemingly perfect life. Buddy, though cleared of all charges, is left to deal with the emotional trauma of his experience. The violence he saw and the close call with death haunt him as he tries to make sense of what happened that fateful night. He seeks solace in his family and friends, finding comfort in their support and understanding. Detective Jones, deeply affected by the case, questions the darkness that lurks within the human heart. He reflects on the fragility of relationships and the destructive power of jealousy and rage. The events on Grand Isle have shaken his faith in humanity, but they have also reinforced his determination to seek justice for the victims of violence. As the news of Walter's arrest spreads, the community of Grand Isle is divided. Some are shocked and appalled by the revelations, while others express sympathy for Walter, blaming Fancy's infidelity for the tragic outcome. The case sparks a heated debate about domestic violence, victim blaming, and the toxic masculinity that often fuels such crimes. The trial of Walter becomes a media sensation, attracting national attention. The prosecution presents a strong case, highlighting the evidence of Walter's abusive behavior, his volatile temper, and the damning video footage of his assault on Fancy. If you are following along, do take a second to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment so we know you love this. Now, let's continue. The defense, on the other hand, attempts to portray Walter as a troubled veteran suffering from PTSD, arguing that his actions were a result of his mental instability. After a lengthy and emotionally charged trial, the jury finds Walter guilty of murder. He is sentenced to life in prison, his dreams of a peaceful retirement on Grand Isle shattered. The verdict brings a sense of closure to the case, but it also leaves a lingering sense of sadness and loss. In the final scenes, Buddy visits Fancy's grave, paying his respects to the woman whose life was tragically cut short. He leaves behind a single flower, a symbol of his remorse and his hope for her to find peace. Detective Jones, meanwhile, visits Walter in prison, seeking answers to the questions that still haunt him. Walter, consumed by guilt and regret, expresses remorse for his actions, but it is too late to undo the damage he has caused. The film ends with a sense of ambiguity and lingering questions. While justice has been served, the scars of the past remain. The events on Grand Isle have exposed the dark underbelly of a seemingly idyllic community, revealing the hidden truths and unspoken tragedies that often lie beneath the surface of everyday life. The film serves as a stark reminder that even in paradise, darkness can lurk, and that the human heart is capable of both great love and unspeakable cruelty. If you enjoyed this detailed recap of Grand Isle, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth summaries and analyses of your favorite films, and leave a comment below. So I hope you guys like it. Which scene scared you the most? Was there a plot twist that surprised you? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon